So I'm going to call this video Integral Timewave 0, the Fourth Dream. So one way to perhaps look at this evolutionarily is that we are living through and within a number of dreams simultaneously. In fact, they could be fractaled into perhaps infinity. As the Buddhists sometimes say, we live in Maya. So in regards to samsara, if there is such a thing, if you want to consider it such a thing, there's perhaps these levels of dreams, and that the dream itself is evolving. And it's sort of a nice way to look at this, in my opinion, and it's been something that I've been feeling somewhat strongly, that we can wake up to different dreams, and some of them are more shocking in that there's a lot of landscape to them, and you might have an inkling of waking up to the dream of sort of society around the age of 3-ish. And I think that that is a very shocking and difficult period of time for many people. And I've had a sense of something like that a couple times, and a very difficult thing to navigate as of late. So this fourth dream, I'm mostly just connecting notions here to try to make sense to me, so that I can have clarity on some of this stuff. That's why I'm making many of these videos in many regards. But looking at the third dream, if this is sort of fractal, so that the last 200,000 years-ish of human evolution would have been sort of a reflection of what we kind of consider to be red in spiral dynamics, so that the orientation was primarily to become, or power. There's that saying that civilization is men standing on top of the shoulders of others, both in the positive sense and the negative sense. That there's this kind of weight of others on you, and it kind of has this master-slave element to it. But also, in the more positive sense, there's the recognition that we're standing on the shoulders of giants in a certain sense. The other two dreams were more unconscious, not aware of, not made object. In fact, in a certain sense, the human becoming project was one of making things object. That is to say, making the dream, the notion of the dream, an object. Even if it's just a human-made dream, not something more than that, which is kind of what the humanists tend to think. Whereas if you sort of look at the more mammalian dream of care, it was more of an unconscious dream, a dream that they were not really self-recognizing of. And then even further into the more reptilian dream, or up to about that point, which is the dream of being able to sort of survive in a complex web of life for some extended period of time. So, what would the fourth dream be? If this is sort of a fractal, then we might be looking at something very similar to blue. Order, purpose. And that would be the primary focus of the fourth dream. The fourth dream would start at yellow and move through, turquoise, coral, indigo, and then two other stages beyond that, arguably. And then so, I've been arguing that this dream wouldn't actually become self-reflective. You wouldn't become aware of it until indigo, because it's the fractal nature of it, is that it itself doesn't come online until the stage in which it's enacted in. So that, similarly, really the humans, although there was primitive sort of culture making, didn't really come online in many regards until red. Where red is sort of the expression of power. Indigo would be sort of the expression of purpose. And it's not really good wording there, but... And so, although some of us in these other stages, if we're, are maybe enacting the fourth dream in a certain regard. We're not really aware of it. And I think that, the state of consciousness, to maintain awareness into it, would be non-dual state, probably. That's another expression of purpose, in the sense that you're holding or making room for others in all areas, in all life. So the purpose is to allow all perspectives, the diversity of perspectives, sort of to thrive. And so it's making room for all of these other global, galactic perspectives. It's these two systems, which would be sort of the human, what spiral dynamics dealt with in the first tier, what they call the first tier, and then this sort of second tier, which I consider both third and fourth, but that's confusing. But so beige to green would have a lot of charge, because in this fractal sense, it's the third major center. So if you look at a 6-on-6 system, what spiral dynamics calls first tier and second tier would be right in the middle. It would be the third and the fourth. And so those two have a lot more charge to them, and so are right more in they're more driven, because it seems like this is the reality of life, more so than perhaps the first two stages, which are sort of building up to it, and then the last two, which are sort of saying what was all of this about, really. And then because this is fractal, it goes ... So I'm not really saying that that's the end. It's just the biggest perspective that I can kind of see, maybe. And I mean, there's many question marks around this. Does that itself have an evolutionary thing to it? In other words, does it add 7 and 8 as it goes, or something, which we just don't understand? But so the dream, in that regard, would be both reflexive of the state of consciousness that we've been arguing. We may be building a fourth state of consciousness, which is more interactive than the causal state. The causal state, unlike the dreaming state, seems to be much more individuated, focused, witnessing, whereas the non-dual one seems to allow all of these states sort of to arise, but strangely sort of integrate, maybe, so that you use the one state for the other, and something like that. So it's far more interactive, which is fitting, again, if we look at the movement of I to we, or agency to communion, which the fourth dream would be more communicative, the third dream more individuated, which fits in with sort of the causal state of consciousness. The causal state seeing, I witness things, and then through that notion of witnessing, there's the recognition that I'm a being becoming, that from this place, I can create. I am, and as an individual, create or manifest some, reality to some degree, some major degree, but that's the place from which that kind of comes in a certain very real sense. The non-dual state would be that place from which sort of that integrating purpose sort of comes. That fourth dream's needed, therefore, to sort of to complement this becoming dream, because an individual becoming too much without any sort of barriers is going to arguably, if not healthy, go down and do negative things to others. That's because it is very agentic, whereas this other dream, being more communicative, can hold space for that and other dreams, the other dreams, to arise. primarily the first and second dreams in a sense, and then add this new fourth dream, which itself has some of its own peculiarities to it too. And so you can, from this, to some degree, envision what the fifth and sixth dreams might look like. Be well.